Welcome to Turmeric and Tequila with your host, Kristen Olson. Questioning a better way, one gracefully disruptive conversation at a time.
Welcome to Turmeric and Tequila. We have a special guest in the house today. Longtime lax brother, I should say.
Yeah,
and then CrossFit brother.
Yeah.
Fitness family member. We'll just go with that. Dave Loudenslager. Did I say that correctly?
Nope. Not
No?
at all.
How is it? What is it?
Loudenslager.
Loudenslager. Okay. Like I said, I've only been friends for 12 years?
Yeah, but I've never corrected you because that doesn't really bother me because I respond to both.
Acceptable. Plus, I would never use your last name. You're just Dave.
Yeah, I've never heard you call me that. So.
Dave L. Actually, I would just say Dave.
Yeah.
Did people use your last name as for lacrosse nickname?
Loudy.
Oh, that's right. Duh.
Yeah,
I should know
I knew
that.
you knew it.
Yeah,
It was just one of those. I was like, I was gonna let you just go.
It's all in the brain. Anyways, we're longtime friends. And Dave is awesome. Like I said, we've had experience with lacrosse and then CrossFit. So collegiate athletes, and then we were kind of like chasing the adult athletic dream in CrossFit, or maybe still are.
Yeah, it's a fair assessment.
Yeah, and then I think you could say we're pretty good as far as like social influencers. Like we tend to lead some of the parties.
Yeah.
Social stage.
In our circles, but I don't know if that means we're influencers or we just run in a small circle.
I mean, don't ruin my dream, Dave.
Oops.
Yeah, but it's a nice little parallel of like fitness, career, party fun.
I think I was gonna say crazy, but yeah,
Crazy.
That works.
All the branding.
Yeah.
So I mean that kind of undertones I think everything we're gonna talk about today. But
Yeah.
I'm pumped. Dave is making a conscious career shift. And he's going to talk about his experience, as I always let everybody tell their own story. But it's exciting because we've unpacked it a little bit, but he hasn't even really told me fully what the new plan is. And so I'm excited to kind of hear it first on air with all of you.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate the chance to.
Absolutely.
But yeah.
First things first. Cheers.
Oh, cheers.
We need cheers a little bit.
Yes.
Here. I always appreciate the awkward silence of the cheers.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, awkward silence is fun in general.
I'm just hoping the audience is drinking as well, so now's my time.
I would assume so at this point.
I think so.
If not, they need to start.
You are.
But yeah, so making a change. Been a teacher for the last 5 years. I'm a lacrosse and CrossFit coach and weightlifting coach for 12 years total, kind of in between on the other sports. Lacrosse for 12 years, so.
Okay.
Weightlifting for about 3 to 4, and CrossFit for about 5. I don't do that very actively anymore, though.
I think it's not longer than that for CrossFit.
I don't know.
Okay. Anyways.
That was all a blur.
All fitness.
Exactly. It all counts. So.
Totally.
But I've been a teacher for the last 5 years, and I love working with kids, and have made the conscious decision that is a career path for me, and that being with kids as far as working with them.
Yeah.
It's one, as a teacher, I've struggled. For those of you that don't know how being a teacher works, there is a 30-year period you're expected to work. And the promise is you get a pension, which is a small portion of what you put in over the years. For me,
this is public school, right? Totally different from private school.
Private school's the same.
Oh, it is?
So
okay.
you actually get paid a lot less at private school.
Oh.
Which I don't understand how that works.
Oh, okay.
That's something I found out when I was coaching lacrosse at Mullen High School.
Oh,
so
okay.
That's kind of and you get pigeonholed when you're doing that. So if you're in a private school for a while, it's actually harder to get back into a public school. There's all types of ridiculous politics in education.
All this, I have no idea about any of it, so layman's terms appreciated.
Absolutely, and I had no idea. I got into education leaving the business world because I was kind of tired of politics and business.
Yeah.
And after 5 years of being in education, I'm currently getting ready to leave the business world education world, because it is not much different than the business world, and there's just as much politics. And at the end of the day, personally, I don't think that those decisions being made by the higher ups are in line with my beliefs, and the fact that I don't really think it's what's best for the kids in a lot of decision making. So the whole system thing kind of gets me. The more I look at the way testing is done, as well as the fact that what if we switched it around? It took 12 years to teach kids how to pursue their passions, and to really look into who they are and what they want to be and what they want to be as a person, let alone an athlete, let alone, you know, an artist, whatever it could be. If we allowed them to do that, imagine the kids we'd have coming out as seniors in high school.
Oh, different world. I wouldn't have a podcast because everybody comes on. It's like, I got to change myself incled. I'm going to just shift it to something else. But no, I think that's 12 years of pursuing a passion. I think is phenomenal. So you should write that book, number one.
Yeah.
But I think that's really critical.
Yeah.
Because you guys are on the front lines of our future.
Well, and, you know, it's one of those things for me, too. It gave me a first-hand account to see the difference between the lacrosse world and the world I teach in. So Avenue is the school I've been at and helped actually launch 2 years ago now. We started the process about 4 years ago. And that school, even though I love it and I love the kids, the population, I couldn't teach another population of kids.
What does that mean?
So they're labeled at risk is the PC terms, public school, whatever public term you want to call for it, the education term. And what it means is these kids have struggled in testing. They're lower performers, not necessarily academically. It could be a high performer that just never shows up to school. Attendance issues, sometimes violent backgrounds, sometimes abuse backgrounds, but we kind of run the gamut. We take everything from the small case to the big case. We also handle all expulsion students for the district. We do quite a bit. We're kind of the catch-all.
And do you guys, I mean, as teachers, not to interrupt the flow, but do you guys have like mental health counseling? Because I mean, I'm assuming this requires a whole different.
Or for staff, for students?
For staff. Like if you're taking on these cases, I'm assuming it's more than just a curriculum, so it's got to be a whole other skill set that these teachers really need. Or are you just kind of out there and figuring it out?
It's a little 50-50. So one thing that's cool, Aurora supported us and gave us 4 mental health staff members for our population. Our school in total is around 200 kids. We service more than that because we go to schools and service some students that are doing credit recovery, stuff like that. But for our kids, 4 staff members for 200 kids is actually like mind-blowing in the district. That's a huge, usually it's 1 to 2 per school.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's absurd. Mental health is not valued as much as it is. And for me, I mean, you know, that's a passion for me. And it drives me nuts to see that that's one issue that isn't really being, it is being focused on, but not enough.
Oh my God, that's like the most important issue.
Yeah, and so as staff members, no. The short is there is like district wellness something or other. You get that chain email, you know, once every couple months saying, hey, please check on this, do this, and that's just not my thing. Like,
but they don't require any special skill set from you guys, like a certain certificate or experience? Wow.
Oh, sorry. Didn't mean to yell in the
mic.
That sounded
loud. The
yeah.
better the sound.
Sometimes I forget those things here. Also, too, my voice is a little raspy. I coached 2 days, 5 games over the weekend in California.
Oh my God, I forget you're traveling too. Yes.
Yeah, it's the end of this is actually the end of our fall season.
Oh, okay.
Because fall goes until January, but I don't make the documents, so
also a business.
yes, more business. Yeah, contract coaching. Who knew?
Here for it, yeah.
But no, with the kids, it's one of those things that they are just struggling to basically. It's kids that are looking to fit in, and they want to know they're loved. They want to know they're cared for. Once you've done that, it doesn't matter what you're teaching, what your course is. The kids are already hooked because they just want to be there to be with you. And if anybody would like to challenge me on that, go ahead. Please do. Show me what would work better than that. Because I know from my students, I've shared with my students that I'm actually pivoting and switching roles. Most of them have been extremely supportive. 1 or 2 were not happy, but still they get it and they understand. And I'm actually going to be going back. I've already committed to them that I'm going to go back once a month. And spend time with those kids to check in, as well as the kids that do want to you see improvement in their personal life, how I can help them in that.
Well, I would think that like so much of this has to do, tell me this is a total stereotype, but of their home life. And that's a total like a variable you can't really control. So I mean, all you can do is deal with them in those, 6 to 8 hours, wherever you have them.
And it is, part of it is home life. But I think it's also not the stereotype we think. A lot of it is the homes are families trying to survive. So the parents have to work 2 to 3 jobs. The kids have to work a job. I have students that will go from school, maybe go home for a little bit, and then they work till 11 o'clock at night because they have to work second shift. A lot of times too, if they're working an under the table job because they are a teenager,
Yeah.
their boss takes advantage of it and keeps them there later than what is, as far as child labor laws are illegal.
Yeah.
And we can't prove anything. Like I don't have physical proof of that, so I can't do anything.
Right.
Because technically, as a mandatory reporter, I should be able to call that in. But without that, without like knowing and being able to prove that, I can't actually do it.
I mean, you probably wouldn't want to take that job away though, too, wouldn't you? I mean, isn't that kind of a catch-22?
That is a catch-22 because most kids need it.
Yeah.
And as long as it's not a detriment to the kid's health and the kid's able to balance it, I think it's okay. Because let's be honest, who out of us have not worked like that?
Oh,
like
for
at
sure.
some point.
Well,
Now,
to be
as
honest,
a
not
teenager,
nothing like that.
definitely
No.
not.
I mean, having seen them go through what you see now and then reflecting on your own experience,
Mm-hmm.
like what kind of emotions does that evoke from like how you had it?
It's different. So with me, like my parents, I had every material thing provided for.
Yeah.
And I love my parents to death. I really do think they did the best job they could. But let's be honest, they're human.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody is. And so there were some things that were lacking. And you know, we've talked about it now as an adult.
Yeah.
And I was able to kind of heal it. The emotional side for me, I was always more of a, I guess you could say, emotional kid.
Yeah. You're an empath on all levels.
Yeah.
Which is perfect.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I think I'm good at being a teacher.
Yeah.
Because I'm more aware to those kids that like student walks in and just by their posture I can tell somebody, hey, you might need to want to check in with Susie.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't have any kids named Susie, so that's okay.
Perfect.
But yeah, so it's just been an interesting change. And so this year I felt the need that something had to happen.
Yeah.
I didn't know what. I just felt like something was going to happen. To be honest, I thought I was going to teach some curriculum that was going to piss a parent off, and that was going to start an uproar. Because I do teach more controversial classes. I teach racism in America. Race and ethnicity. Racism in America is one of my U.S. history units. I teach world religions and just all stuff that is kind of strayed away from in a public space as far as public schools.
Where does that inspiration come for you to teach that? I didn't know you guys got to really kind of pick your curriculum.
So as a teacher,
courses.
and the way that teaching works is every teacher at a school, so say a history department, you get to pick so many classes, like so say they offer so many.
Okay.
If you have been around, if you're like most teachers at our school, we only have 2 social studies teachers, so it's not that big of a deal. So it'd be like, hey, can I teach this year? I didn't get to and I'd like to. And usually you can kind of have a conversation. I was lucky enough that I got to pick some of the stuff like race and ethnicity. I'm one of 2 teachers that teach at Aurora.
Okay.
William Smith is the only other school that offers it, and thank them because they were the ones that did the paperwork to file for that course. So if you want to teach a course, you actually have to propose it to the state.
Oh, okay.
And you have to put all the standards, what it's going to meet, the expectation of the course, and then you send it in and it's approved or not approved.
Okay.
And
so you're going to choose with so long as it's approved.
yeah,
Okay.
and if it's already approved though in the district, then I can teach it in my school.
Oh, okay.
So once somebody's done that legwork, you can kind of get away with them being like, okay, this is offered somewhere else, I can offer it here.
Gotcha.
So world religions, we just had a need for it last year, so I taught it. And for me, I grew up in a very religious home. I grew up non-denominational Christian, was a Young Life kid, was asked to speak at baccalaureate, didn't make my parents happy on that one, but made me happy.
I didn't even know about that. Okay.
Oh yeah, I was a Young Life leader in college. So.
I didn't. Okay, I didn't know it was as far as college. I knew it was heavy in the growing up.
So high school, I was a Young Life kid, Young Life leader as far as like a teenager can go.
Okay.
I played bass in the worship band at church. And I was a youth group leader in the church youth group, and then I went to college and stayed with Young Life. Did that, and then by senior year, I decided I probably wasn't being the best example. I was living the typical senior of college, career.
Yeah.
I was partying quite a bit and having fun, and just decided I wasn't being an example for what Young Life stood for and what I expected a college leader to be. For middle school kids, because I was working with the middle schoolers at the time. And so I had that conversation, ironically, the day that the area director in Young Life wanted to have the "it's time for you to step up" conversation. I was ready for the "it's time for me to step down" conversation. Did that, and then I just kind of had a journey of figuring out what I believe for the last 12, 13 years. I think faith is important, or faith in something.
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen so many similarities and differences, and over time between what one person says or what what man has said on religion
Right.
is what it comes down to. I think, to be honest, most of them are pointing in the same direction, and
I completely agree.
you know, it's
Completely agree.
it's just us that have skewed it over centuries and centuries of time.
Well, it's like telephone, like someone's interpreting all these different
Yeah.
things. And don't write me letters, my religious humans, because I got love for you.
Yes, absolutely.
And I mean, just what you said, I think just believing something bigger is so important and critical, just humanity in basic sense. But I think towing in like religion, energy, like having a little bit of intel from all those things is awesome. Like take in everything you want and then you filter what kind of sticks.
Well, and that's when I teach my kids. So I tell my students, no matter what I'm teaching, do not take what I say as absolute truth.
Right.
Because one, I'm probably wrong, because we're going to find out in 20 years whatever I taught was proven wrong.
Google it right now. Yep, we're wrong.
And that's how history works, people. It is ever changing. I hate that. There's nothing. Oh God. I do not agree with that one. No, I literally had someone. So one of the things
for real?
When I became a teacher, no, not that. To go with the history comment about it changing.
Okay.
I had someone look at me and go, "Tell me you're teaching the true history of America."
According to who?
I went, "Okay, which one's the true one?" Like, just knowing the minute you tell me that, here
Did
we
you say
go.
Columbus was here first?
Yes, Columbus was here first.
Oh gosh.
And only made peace. We're gonna piss people off with this one.
No, my cast references. I mean, everybody knows the Native Americans were here first. Like,
I would hope
if
so.
you want to get pissed, that's fine. But come on now.
That's true. And if you didn't know, now you know.
Now you know. Don't believe anything I say, by the way.
Yes. But no, I want my kids to make their own decisions, because realistically, with where we're going with technology, the fact that anyone can make a website that looks like a newspaper website, even the fact that you can edit photos.
And Wikipedia.
Well, yeah, Wikipedia's become a legit source.
I know.
You know, like you have to be able to formulate ideas based off of evidence.
Yeah.
So my big push in any of my courses is that students, I give them evidence from both sides. So if we were talking about something like, say, the Iran issue that happened, the assassination a couple weeks ago, I would pull articles on both sides of it, you know, those that are saying left and right in our country, and then an outside source like BBC.
Okay.
And have the kids read it and then come up with their own opinions, and then have them separate out, have discussion, but let it go to argument a little bit.
Okay.
I will be honest on that topic. I already know how my class would probably have gone, because most of mine are very biased against the current president.
Sure.
So they would just immediately go, "Nope, I'm this," regardless of whether or not it was the proper action. Yeah. And what I'm trying to encourage is, instead of just going, "Oh, I don't believe it because it's this," look at the research and look at the evidence.
Right.
Like, and I don't know enough about that topic to go into like what that evidence would have been, but
that skill set, I think, is more important than what it actually is. Like,
absolutely.
Just having like the differentiation to be like, here's what I believe, here's what I don't believe, because that's the truth. Like, maybe we approached with religion growing up. Now it's politics for our kiddos.
Exactly.
So it's the same skill set and same ideas.
Yeah, and I agree with you fully on that. And like, for me, the process is what it's about, and that's the process of everything. Like, falling in love with the process is kind of like part of the things I'm pushing with my new company, because for sports, everything that we've done in our lives has been a process, whether it was trying to make it to the CrossFit games for you, or trying to make it to college NCAA playoffs, or if it was just trying to get our Vail team to the last game on Sunday that wasn't at 8 a.m. My team played on that one, yours never did. That's different.
Varsity on and off the field, just put that out there.
And we were only varsity off the field, but we did it well.
That's why we love you guys.
As I take a drink.
Yeah,
I mean, that's only fitting.
Keep it all on brand. Authenicity's king.
Absolutely. So, but no. So with that, it's. I don't know where I was going with that. Sorry, space.
No, you were good. You say falling in love with the process, and the kind of what stood out to me was how much. This was another podcast I did with my friend Jess. Our society is results oriented. Like, everything's about results. But then as we pull back, kind of picked about our own journeys. And I feel like I've had kind of similar process over the past 10 years as you, where it's like, okay, what do I actually care about? What are we dialing into? What are my values? Blah, blah, blah. And you really pull back and you see how important that process is versus like, did I go to the CrossFit games? Did I get a 4.0 in college? Did I win the championship?
The answer was yes to the first one. If you were wondering, she did go to them.
I did. Well, not as an individual though.
Okay.
So I mean, but at the end of the day, like, really, it was important to me, and it is, all of it's important. But who cares about that one piece of it? It was 10 years of preparation. Like,
absolutely.
And all of that, I met some of the best friends of my life, and like, you know, that shaped me as a human, you know, for 10 years. Like, there's so much alongside outside of that one result lining piece.
I agree.
So anyways, you're teaching the power of the process and the importance of the process.
Yeah, and so one of the things with the company that I'm trying to set out is looking at athletes and what's the difference between a kid that is a varsity player, doesn't even get looked at, to a kid that is getting recruited by all the different coaches.
Yeah.
And so just to give a little background on that, I've been a select and travel team coach for lacrosse for 7 years, varsity lacrosse coach for 12, and then Olympic weightlifting coach for 4, with working with one junior national athlete who came from never playing or competing in the sport to that within 2 years, and then some of the more masters athletes, just helping in their process and that type of stuff. So, you know, looking at all these different wheelhouses, I see a kid like Willie, who Willie was my weightlifting athlete, started from nothing.
Yeah.
In 2 years, that kid goes from being 150 pounds, squatting maybe 185, to being 160 pounds, squatting, I don't like to admit this because he tied me. He hit my best ever, 385.
Yeah. Oh my God, that's
Yes.
a lot.
Yeah. So
And what does he weigh?
he was 68, 69 kilos, so
Okay.
roughly 162.
Okay.
Like, just, I'm
It's
guessing
not far from me. I
somewhere
got my
between.
squat, I think.
Yeah. And that was 2 years. But the
Wow.
difference was he showed up no matter what I programmed, no matter what I did, showed up, put his head down, did the work, loved the process of it,
Yeah.
and was great. And then I got kids that come in from lacrosse, and there's kids that play year-round lacrosse. No different than training for weightlifting year-round.
Yeah.
I would actually argue it's less painful on the body because I think weightlifting is actually
I
tougher.
agree. Yeah.
But these kids do it year-round, and they're 17, 18, and they don't care. They've lost that fun.
Yeah.
And I was talking with the guy I coach with, and we were saying, I think it's important to take a season off.
Oh, dude. Well, I think the parents get, and I had coached forever and through school and blah, blah, blah. But when I saw my kiddos that were like destined for college, could be D1 athletes, what have you, they were so burned out by the time they got there, none of it mattered. And the parents were, and it came from good space, like all the training, all the extras, anything else, nutrition, extracurriculars, training, wall ball, everything. And then they were so burned out, and they didn't have that space to do other things.
Yeah.
They didn't want to go to college. Or they got into college, did it for one semester, and quit at Christmas.
Yep.
We had tons of those on my team.
Burnout's insane. Like,
Yeah.
And but the thing is, if you think, when did you start playing lacrosse?
Colorado. I mean, I literally went out east because there was nothing out here.
Yeah.
And this was, I think I started a year before high school. Maybe
So
like
eighth
7th,
grade?
8th grade.
Yeah,
Yeah.
7th
But it was
grade?
like the most bootleg lacrosse you could ever think of.
Oh, I started
I
in
had a wood
7th
stick.
grade in Ohio. Well, I get it.
Okay, yeah. So it was terrible. Like, even when I somehow finagled my way out east and got on actually a really good team. And we had a lot of learning freshman year. But then I saw how bad not how bad I was, just how ill-informed I was on stuff. Like, I just didn't get it.
Sorry, I'm just doing some sound.
Oh, and I'm appreciating. He's like dialing, but the audio's coming, y'all. We're fixing it. But I was almost a blessing, I think, because I wasn't inundated with travel teams and competitive and this and like I did everything was available, but there was nothing. But now I see what my kiddos are doing, and I'm like, this is more than a full-time job.
Right.
This is insane.
It's
Go have a beer out back and like go relax and chill because you need to be a kid.
exactly.
You
But
got
you're
lots of
12
time.
and you're freaking out.
Or maybe not 12, like let's say like 18
Well.
to 21. I'm not promoting underage drinking, by the way, but I mean just go have a Coke and a smile outside.
I figured your listeners are probably bright enough to catch it.
I hope so.
This is not literally speaking that
Yeah.
the kids are drinking.
True, exactly. I'm just saying, people you gotta provide space for kids to be kids.
Absolutely.
Like, it's huge.
Well, and that's with this whole push. I have 5th grader parents being like, what does my kid have to do to make this team? Learn to spell his name. He's a 5th grader.
I was gonna say.
Like, I mean, I don't know what
Go
5th
play
grade.
with trucks.
I don't know what 5th graders learn, so that's probably a horrible
I hope they
estimation.
can write their name again.
Sadly, based off
No
published,
way.
K through 8th grade in public schools, kids can fail every single class and be passed until they get to high school.
Seriously?
Oh yes, and that's not the teacher's choice.
Yeah.
That is federally mandated.
Wow.
And then when they get to high school, then the freshman year teacher gets to be the asshole. Allowed to swear.
Oh yeah.
Just checking. Forgot to ask that one beforehand.
Absolutely. You
Fuck
could
yeah, here we
yeah,
go.
Exactly.
Now I'm just abusing the privilege.
Yeah,
But
I mean, also acceptable.
yeah,
Safe space.
So, but you have a kid that shows up and he should be a freshman in high school, but he's at a second grade in reading level. And I tell you that because I had a student 2 years ago show up. We tried to take him to do his GED because he was so far behind in credits. My school offers that as well. And he couldn't spell his name to do it. He was so embarrassed he never came back.
All those teachers of like the 11, 12 years prior to that didn't say, like, there was no moral compass of like, I got to do something more here.
They legally can't stop him. Because apparently it makes sense that if a kid fails everything, we should keep pushing them. And then at some point they'll have to be like, nah, we told you your first 12 years of development, anything you do is perfect. Now you're screwed because you're an idiot.
Wow. Okay.
No, that's not what the teachers say, but that's how they feel because they don't understand whatever. Like, I have a kid in class who I love him to death, sweetest kid, but he has an issue when he gets called out in front of people. And he looks at if you're asking a question, like that's kind of calling out to him because if he doesn't, and for him, if he puts his head down on the table, I'm supposed to know that means he wants me to come by and ask him for help. Now, he and I had built a relationship. I know that's what it means, but he did this with everybody else and never told anyone. And so people are like, oh, he's sleeping in class. So then they're like, hey, get your head up, stop sleeping. And he's really trying to ask for help, but he can't even say that. You know what I mean? And it's screwed up because my thing is, I can't tell you how many times I've had students tell me that they're middle school teachers. And now this is not to throw shade because just for every crappy middle school teacher, there's a great middle school teacher.
Of course. But
they told me that their teacher told them they'd never amount to anything. Like, you're a middle schooler.
What humans are becoming teachers there?
Exactly.
Because my humans that I know, like Paula's my best friends in my life that are teachers, I'm so thankful that they're shaping our future because they're the best humans I know.
Yeah, right.
And I've had a few teachers back in the day. Granted, I was a pretty good student, but boundaries have never been my strength.
Nope.
But when I hear stuff like this, like, who's becoming a teacher? Like, what's happening here?
I can tell you, I had a neighbor. Sorry for the camera version of this, but I'm gonna start fidgeting with this a little bit.
He's fixing the mic. It's okay. Dave's phenomenal audio, so we're just
gonna. Phenomenal is a stretch. I'm just trying to see if it inputs more to one side because I think my voice is coming in pretty quiet. We'll just move on from there. It looks like it is picking up a little more. So. Anyway, which now I'll just have to.
You just gotta get way on it, like
now I just gotta look at you this way. For those of you that don't know,
this is when the video's worth it because
now
you
can
what
see
is this weirdo doing? Oh, glad you're a teacher.
Yes, good thing we cut it out from earlier footage. For those of you that don't know, if there's someone that brings out the inappropriate in me, it would be Kristen.
We're totally 7th graders. So
100%.
Okay. I like gym class.
That's why we're friends still. Totally. Because we're perpetually getting younger as we get older.
But this is where authenticity comes. Like, let your kids be kids. Like, it never goes away. So let them embrace it.
And that's the thing. Like, I have students. Like, I joke around with my kids all the time. And like, if a kid's walking silly down the hall, I do the same thing there. It's probably looking worse than they do, but like they just laugh and they have fun. And if you engage with them in like play, because that's what I'm learning myself that I've forgotten how to play over.
That's every adult though.
Exactly.
We get lost into like our routine and what's going on and how to be and what we're supposed to do. And even when you're conscious of it, I mean, I'm glad you, I'm like, really?
Sorry.
Do you remember Tool Time when it's, what's his name, the neighbor behind the fence? That's what I'm doing.
Now Al Borland was the assistant.
Yes.
So,
wasn't he just the neighbor?
I thought it was Harry. No.
You never saw his face. He was just behind the fence.
Yeah,
that's what it was
legitimately. I mean,
with Dave and the mic.
I can just talk to you this way.
Also, I mean, that's clear. So either way.
Damn it! Didn't do that one through.
But no, I think it's really important for the kiddos to be kids and this is kind of sad, but our teachers to be supported because and I think that's where the pay like attracts humans that are more serious about it. Maybe I don't know. Well, it's a really crazy cycle.
And the hard thing is, so no one goes into teaching to be like, I want to fuck up kids.
Right.
Like, let's be honest.
I hope not.
And if they do, you're an asshole. You're going to hell.
Yeah.
If it exists.
Karma's real.
Yeah. Karma will get you.
Yeah.
But the thing is, like, for me, you get all these people and I think we have one coworker that doesn't have a master's degree.
Okay, you said you have 2 master's degrees. You glossed over some of the heavy ethos.
Yeah, so
which I almost appreciate, but you got to brag a little.
Yeah, sorry. Little background is as far as education. Got my undergrad degree in history at the College of Worcester. Played lacrosse there. Moved to Indianapolis afterwards, got a Master's of Science with a focus in management. So basically emotional intelligence before they had a title for it. This was 2000.
You use that in business though too. So
yeah, well it was advertised as an MBA without the accounting. And
that's amazing. I would have did that in a heartbeat.
Right?
I'm not going back to school, but yes.
And I suck at math, so I was like, absolutely, let's do it. So it's basically all of the MBA stuff without the financial upside.
Amazing.
So guess what? I couldn't do numbers anyway, so it doesn't matter to me.
But how applicable? I mean, it's not even applicable. Like universe looks out or God, whatever.
Exactly. And I will tell you, when I took that, when I finished that degree, I was like, well, this is a waste. This was kind of a waste. I don't know when I'm going to use it. And about 3 months ago, I was on the phone with my dad, and I literally stopped halfway through, and I went, sure, you've been waiting a long time to hear these words, Dad. You were right. I'm glad I went back to grad school right when I didn't want to.
Yes. Okay.
So, and I'm glad, because really, what I'm learning is it helped me recognize how to deal with people. And realistically, if you don't think being a teacher is hard, you're managing a bunch of you're managing 20 to 30 12-year-olds.
They all communicate differently. Like you said,
that don't know
desk,
don't even know how to communicate in general.
And also a lot of adults don't know how to communicate, to be fair. But
that is very true.
Not to take away from your point.
But that's because they never learned how to communicate.
Completely agree.
And that's the thing, like our school, so we do it's called Discovery. So 6 weeks, kids have to do, each week's a different focus. So 1 week is communication, one's anger management, one is like timeliness and scheduling, how to work with groups. We have all these different expectations.
So life skills that every kid should have.
Yeah, and if you can't get through that class, you got to retake it until you get through to get into our school. Okay. That will probably be gone in 2 to 3 years because the district does not feel that it is equitable enough. Because it is not.
What equitable? Expand on that.
So
I know what that means, but to them, what does that mean?
To them, that means it's not fair. So and yes, that is an appropriate noise.
Okay.
So our system, the way it works, we have it's called ABI, which is Academic Behavior Intervention, which means something's going on that you need additional help, and that's either additional kind of refocusing. We need to address if our school's right for you. When you're doing that, you're in a room working on either credit recovery. So say you don't pass this discovery class. Mm-hmm. You can make up credits during this time. So say you end up getting kicked out week 3 and it's a 6-week course. You have 3 weeks to make up credits in ingenuity, which would get you caught up. Almost all of our kids are behind in credits, so there's always something to do. But you can also work on a project. And part of our project with ABI is you have to do a project as to why are you in here? And what could you have done differently, and how could you have avoided it, and how are you going to avoid it in the future? Yeah. Meaning, so if I was in there I'm late every day, what can I do moving forward so that I'm not late the next grading period? I have to create a project, present it to teachers, and get it to pass. And if it passes, then I get to go back. Okay. That's not fair to students because the district looks at that as an in-school suspension, because we're taking them out of their scheduled courses to put them into another. Now you could be getting U.S. history and U.S. history credit, but if I take you out of the scheduled course that's on your piece of paper and put you into a different course because of a behavioral action, I can do it normally. They switch classes all the time. Sure. But if it's because of a behavioral, it was then looked at as being a suspension. Wow. So it's then viewed as an in-school suspension. So they're telling us that this is not going to be beneficial. And I see it going down the line that I think it's going to cut out all of this. Good.
Well, I was going to say, is there light at the end of the tunnel? Do you think, what I know this is a whole other podcast, but
it's called When My Contract Ends.
I was going to say, not just for you. I know you're done, but we got to get into that too, but what is, now with your experience, your education, the background, and I know you've had master's degrees and 5 years of teaching, but you've literally been coaching or been in a leadership role since young life when you were in college, all these leadership roles. What is now having been a part of the school system, is there, and this is not going to be a short answer, is there a better way? What would you suggest on just a 10,000 foot view?
So yes and no.
Okay.
Yes, I think there is a better way. No, I don't think it's going to happen.
Okay.
So that's a short answer.
Because of
Yes.
business and money. I mean, that's the reason most things don't evolve. But
well, and it is run like a corporation. There's too many hoops. There's too much. Anytime you get somebody that's pushing something new, it tends to get shot down almost immediately because there's the fear of change. We also never allow you never allow a full cycle to see if it works.
Yeah.
So education, unfortunately, a full cycle to know if something works is K through 12th grade.
Yeah.
And I would argue that that's too long to like, I'm not going to let, because you have, every new group coming after that. That's a lot of people's life just to be like, we'll see if it works.
A lot of gerbils,
Yeah.
Or guinea pigs, I should say, to test.
Yeah, that's perfect reference, but it is what's happening. And every time we do it, we give it a year or two and then we throw fits. Like Common Core. Common Core right now is getting ripped apart. Ohio, they repealed
What is Common Core?
Common Core is it's the academic standards for the country.
Oh, okay.
In general. But when people say Common Core, they typically mean just teaching, like just math.
Oh, okay.
There was an example of like a guy that put a check. He's like, hey, look, I did the Common Core math through Reddit. I don't know enough about the procedures to talk about like the details of them.
Sure.
But I asked a math teacher, I'm like, and he got his master's in mathematics at Ohio State, like knows his stuff. Said, why did they change it and what was the point? And he said, well, the reason they changed it is because most people from our generation, older generations, and probably even halfway into the Gen Z group, before Common Core was started, they do math and they can understand the basics, but they stop at about calculus. No one goes past calculus.
I should do.
Neither did I.
Guess what? There's an app for that. Bye.
Yeah, right? Yeah. Exactly. And what he said is the new techniques in teaching math, even though they are harder than the old ones, like I'd be able to look at a math and multiplication equation. Obviously, I'm not a math teacher. You can tell by my language right there. The math thing or other, whatever it is. Yeah. But the way I solve it, and I can show a student how to do that, but it's not right based off the core standards because it's not the order of operations.
Okay.
And what it's doing, the whole purpose is to make students think more critically. So like, what other types of ways could you solve this equation? And parents are throwing fits. I mean, like...
It's got to be hard for them, because do they remember any of this crap?
And that's exactly why they're throwing fits, is because they can't explain it, so it's dumb.
Oh.
When it's like...
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah, like people blow
That's
up.
back to communication in adults.
Absolutely. Yeah. And they're getting angry because, I should be able to do this. I can do this much easier this way. Well, the point isn't being able to do it easier. It's being able to think critically about doing it a different way.
Yeah.
So then, like, for me, I'm like, oh, that makes sense. Because I stopped at Common Core, and I learned later in life that not in Common Core, I stopped at Algebra 2.
I think I started Algebra 2 in high school or whatever. Like, you don't even where I was like, cool, bye.
I stopped it after the second round of it, because I
Okay,
passed it to graduate.
Acceptable.
Definitely failed it the first time.
Yeah.
Actually, only class I ever failed. But, so, like, that type stuff. And it makes sense. I'm like, oh, okay. Because for me, if someone had given me different ways of looking at it, I probably would have been like, oh, okay, that makes sense.
Well, and the whole point was to critically think, and again, it wasn't really, so there's an irony within that, yes, of course.
So, and it's just one of those where, so for me, like, I've never been in a role where more people have told me how to do my job that have no right to. Like, when I was coaching CrossFit at Palladium, I had a mom come up to me and say, oh, I'm going to homeschool my kids. And I went, okay, and no judgment on that. You have the right to do whatever you want.
This was kind of like some of my next questions, but go ahead.
Yeah. Oh, well, and what I said was, I was like, well, would you take your kid to a doctor that wasn't licensed? Because as a teacher, you have to go to school for 2 years to learn how to teach, not to learn your content, not to learn your subject, to learn how to teach.
Yeah.
And she goes, no, I wouldn't do that. Why? I go, that's what you're doing right now.
Yeah.
And she went, oh, well, we just think we can do a better job. And then as I got to know her as a client, I noticed she was a client that you need to go deeper on your squat, and then never went deeper.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, that just
makes
that
sense.
fits. I get it.
Indication all the way around.
Absolutely. You know better than everyone.
Okay.
So
do you think at some point, like, homeschooling might be the better option so you can't take control? Because I have phenomenal humans that do homeschool their kids, and I'm not a parent, so I'm careful to commentate on things that, like, I'm not a teacher. Yeah. So I don't know a lot, but I know I would always want to do the best for my kiddos, my dogs, or whatever. The
socialization side would be tough.
And that would be my key factor.
And I would agree. That's probably the biggest issue. Because you could, realistically, teach your kid, because let's be honest, colleges at this point are a dime a dozen. Colleges are for-profit businesses at this
100%.
point. And the value of a degree is dropping.
Yeah.
Like, people are realizing you can go to trade schools. Like, our school
did a podcast on that. Huge.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I missed that one actually, but
one of my kids I coach at Grandview.
Yeah.
Her and her dad started a heating and air conditioning, like basically
HVAC,
everything company. Yeah,
HVAC.
I think it's HVAC. Yeah,
it is.
Okay, we're learning. But she like went through the whole process of not wanting to go to college, and like she's already had like some incredible like adult experience as a young human, but they're thriving.
Absolutely, and they're making. Guess what? She's making probably 85 or higher.
Yeah, I mean I didn't ask specifically, but she's like she's
Sorry,
and she's young. Like I mean I can't remember 26. Maddie, how old are you? But like but the point is like she's happy, she's loving it. Yeah. Like she gets to be her own boss. She gets to like help the community and like help out families like when they can't pay their HEPA or whatever. Like I mean it just fit the world all the way around. Yeah. So anyways.
But that's it. The reality is a trade school is probably an option for more kids than it shouldn't be. Like
well, dude, it's
they need to offer it more than they don't.
Yeah.
And it's really frustrating because I was a kid that probably would have done better in a trade school.
Really? What would you have done?
I don't know. I like work, but I liked my favorite jobs were working with my hands, bartending, working warehouse. Yeah. I just like to be active.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it wasn't my path. You know, like I look at it, I'm like I probably would have fit in better, but there was something different for me. Because as much as I like working with my hands, I like being with people. Yeah. And it's a huge thing for me to be involved in helping people grow and watching people succeed.
Well, I think that's kind of what we talked about, where every little piece of the puzzle, I mean, again, I say this on almost every cast, my type A are intentional humans, and not there's anything wrong with my type B, but it's almost like the more is more, so I'm going to get my degree, I'm going to do this, I'm going to be so intentional about my path and what I want, and that's great, but when you really reflect it, 30 plus years old or however old you are, and
21.
21, well, 18 and her, plus Botox.
Sorry, did I steal your age? That's normally what you tell me on your birthday.
I mean, also
yeah, I'm going to throw that shit
we're getting younger every birthday.
Oh, absolutely.
But I think when you reflect, you look back and you're like, thank God all that happened. And like, God, it was a slow process and this took forever. But every little piece, like coaching, young life, parents and religion, like it now positions you in this space where you are so equipped with all these skills unintentionally so. And that's why I think our teachers and our education is very, very important. And the socialization, friends, sports, the experiences you have in K through 8, then 8 through 12, are critical outside of like the academic situation, because you learn, you grow, you build relationships. And I wish they would add in curriculum around like relationship building, nutrition, not even fitness, but just movement. Yep. And like these life skill things that we've kind of had to learn later on. But you reflect and you see how much your path has positioned you to be wherever you're at. Oh, and it's one of those, to first answer, because I totally went off on a sidebar about homeschooling. I do think it is possible to academically, I think it's 100% possible to raise your kids and teach them well, but you have to do it you have to take all of your bias out of it as a parent. Yeah. Because if I grew up in a home that I knew like only one side of every issue and every topic, then that's going to skew everything forward. And that can be challenging, because as a teacher, it's challenging. Yeah. Like for me, there's some things where I'm like I've had to change a lot of my own views as I've learned and been like, oh shit. Either like if you want to say America never did anything wrong, you don't know our history. And I'm the first one to say I love our country. I love it. I think there's some amazing things. I'm grateful for everyone that's fought for us. Yeah. Thank you for your service to all those people. But if you would like to act like our country has never done anything wrong, you need to read, because you can't love somebody unless you know the good and bad. And just like a person, right? You can't say you really love your significant other unless you know all their shit and all their good stuff. Well, that almost enriches the love. Like we don't have to PR and put it on the front and market every single thing that's out there. Like reality and authenticity is real, and you can, thankfully, if any mistakes that were made, which there were, we've rebounded or we've learned or we still are learning. Change is slow. Yeah. Things are happening, and I think that's what's good about our young humans is that they can see all this, digest it in a certain way, and then choose to live a different way. And I think even our generation missed some of that. Like, definitely. Like that's new for us, and I think that's been part of both of our paths. So be like, I don't know if that really makes sense. Yeah. I know it's been ingrained in our heads and whatever, but price is wrong. Let's kind of go a different way. And I mean, how much time, energy, money have we spent to figure that out? Right. A lot. Well, that's the thing. I mean, you said the whole process, and I mean,
I didn't realize it. It took me about a month to 2 months of kind of formalizing where I'm going with this new adventure of mine. And then, but it was like, I look back and it's literally everything I did.
Dude, it's exactly who you are as a human. We'll get into it.
Yeah, sorry.
No, I mean, it's all in due time.
Okay.
The way it, without moving to talk about the detail, the way it's come together, and again, all the assets and skill sets and just genuinely who you are as a human that are put into this newfound business, it's pretty remarkable.
It's like, to be honest, it's one of those, for me, it feels so easy and everything aligning that it feels like it's too good. Like, it's one of those where I'm like, something's gonna happen.
Is it gonna break up with me?
Like we know this route. It's about 2 to 3 months. Shit's going well. Like, when am I gonna get that? Like, hey, it's not
another boyfriend.
I know the routine. Some jokes I'm not gonna make right now.
Check out my Facebook from 2011 to 2014. No.
Or mine. Either one. We were just as bad.
Or as good, we should say. I feel like we stay right under the radar on all things.
And my thing is too, even saying, we were both as bad.
Yeah.
How much do we learn from any relationship we've had? Really?
Oh, everything.
Yeah.
Thank God I haven't had to have too many, or knock on wood, maybe the learners are still coming.
Yeah.
But the ones that we have,
first off,
listening.
maybe they're still coming. How old are you? Yes, they're still coming.
18, I already told you.
Yeah,
this.
exactly. You got plenty.
The ones that matter, not the learning ones. Like, please no more learning ones.
You're gonna learn even in the good ones. There's
no
rough learning.
I know, this is true.
No more why me learning. Like,
no, we're not victim status.
Yes.
No, we're over
Yeah,
that.
exactly.
We're ready for this. Okay, so tell us, name a new business. Tell us the baseline of all of it.
Yeah, so new business name is Athlete Mindset. The company.
Simple and clean. I love that.
Yep.
I don't even think I didn't log athlete. I didn't log the name yet, but we're here now.
Yeah, so the name is Athlete Mindset. The idea is everything that you need to do off the field to be prepared on the field. And focusing mainly with high school and middle school athletes, starting with the lacrosse network because that's where I'm at, but then branching into all sports. When I'm writing it, everything is written for any athlete. But basically, it's like I have my first course is 4 pillars: movement, recovery, nutrition, and mindset. And I'm using it as a platform to, one, address mindset because it's kind of a way to sneak mental health into talking to high school and middle school kids, but framed around mindfulness and visualization of their play, that type of stuff. But basically, going to offer courses as well as coaching. The idea is parents and kids come for one cost, and that's the entire family. It's not just like one person goes. And the idea is because if kids and parents aren't on board, and I'm not saying that parents have to, like, you have to eat 5 meals a day. No, but you have to be able to know what your kid has to go through to support them in it.
Yeah.
And the beauty of it is it could be stuff the parents already know. Like, the parents have how many times has the parent said one thing to their kid, the kid ignores it, and the kid looks to someone that is not their parent, hears the same thing, and they went, "Oh my God, why didn't you tell me that?" And so really the big push is I'm kind of being that middleman, and that's with my parents, like lacrosse parents that I've talked to. That's what they've said would be a big help. But it's providing kids a space to, one, look at like, okay, am I really trying as hard as I need to be?
Yeah.
And am I really doing my best? And what do I need to do to be able to get there? So
that different piece of accountability, I think, is critical.
Yeah, and it's framed from, they all think, they see an athlete and they look at it and they're like, okay, this guy just practices really hard. And for me, the experience, the kind of creativity of it, or creation of it, was the idea that, so I was a 2-time all-conference defender in college. Didn't have a bad career, small D3 school, so it wasn't D1, I wasn't pushing All-American by any means. But I had a great career. I started every single game of my college career, and when as an athlete, that's all you can really ask for.
For sure.
Because 20 years after the line, what does it matter as a lacrosse player where we play?
After the line, man. It's
I would argue one.
Okay. Or even
Well, actually,
the second you graduate, it's like next case.
And unless you go into the industry you're playing in, it doesn't matter after that.
Right.
And so for me, it was always just like I got out of it, and I thought I knew every single thing I knew about training, what it was to be an athlete. And then 5 years later, exactly, said every 21-year-old with, some form of knowledge and the internet. This was 2000.
An accolade, a sports accolade. You're like, okay.
Yeah, this was 2007, 2008, so the internet wasn't as accessible as it is now.
Oh, right, yeah.
We didn't have smartphones.
Yeah.
So I really didn't have any way to learn about or where to start to learn.
Yeah.
When I would look for like any type of advice or skills or techniques, it was either like the generic like 5 tips to be a better athlete, and which
articles like we found in the library or something basic.
Exactly, and to be honest, if you Google athlete mindset right now, that's all that pops up are these bullshit like.
Really?
Yeah, there's like the fact that the name alone was
I can't
available
believe that.
is insane. Now there's an asshole squatting on athletemindset.com,
Oh, okay.
so I own athletemindset.net and .org.net will be the website when it's up. But yeah, like there's no presence at all.
What are they asking for the guys?
$2,000, $2,100 for it.
Yeah, let it marinate.
That's what I figured.
Yeah.
I'm like,
That's
no
so
rush.
Annoying. Okay.
Yeah, and it's a Denver guy.
Oh, really?
It's a Denver-based company that
Did you tell them about the company and they rushed out there?
Denver-based company that owns over 30,000 .com addresses,
So
and they
just
just sit on them. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's I'm not a huge fan of the process.
Yeah.
But he's also working a system. I
Yeah.
can't hate on that
Yeah.
because he beat me to it.
Yeah.
But the fact that that's the only like thing in the way. Like
Yeah.
no companies. There's one woman out of Britain that has a LLC or like that tried to launch Athlete Mindset, and her website, like she launched it over a year ago. Website's not up,
Okay.
and she has Athlete Mindset on LinkedIn. That's it.
Oh wow.
So there's
I'm
nothing.
gonna trademark that ASAP.
Yeah, totally. That's
Okay.
in the.
I have a good lawyer that I just used to do mine.
I will have to check
I got
that
you.
out.
Yeah, you did a really good job.
Though if my cousin's listening, I'm totally gonna ask her husband for help.
Also acceptable.
Yeah, he's a trademark lawyer.
Oh, 1,000%. Yeah.
She actually has 2 trademarks. Yeah, she's never gonna listen to this, but
She better.
yeah, I'll try. But 2 trademarks on implants for brain surgery.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like legitimately, my cousin is a badass brain surgeon.
I'm here.
Had
for
no
it.
idea.
Okay.
Found out a year ago because she's in Jersey. I'm out here, but.
Okay, or just a humble human.
Yeah,
She's not
well,
on
she's
Instagram.
super humble. Yeah, exactly. She's just living her life.
Come
And-
to KO Alliance to change that.
Yeah, right. I almost wore my KO Alliance shirt.
Oh my dude,
I
you
was
have a
like-
couple by now.
I only have one.
Do you
Yeah,
seriously?
I won the medium tank top from the event we competed in.
You're welcome.
Yeah,
See, I have an
I'll-
influencer one right there where to get a picture.
Perfect,
So
that
that's
works.
3 now at least.
Awesome. So, but
Anyways,
no,
business.
yeah. So the idea though is basically as a coach, I've seen I keep wanting to say downgrade. That's not the right term, but a change and a decline. There we go.
Yeah.
In off-field stuff. So the
Yeah.
way that a kid sits on field, if the drill's going on, the way the players on the sidelines sit, and most of them they're not even paying attention. They're
Really?
talking to each other. They're screwing around, and this is like a select team that your parents are paying $1,500 to $2,000
Oh.
a season, and you show
Don't
up
the
for.
coaches yell at them?
Oh, we yell at them.
Yeah.
They don't give a shit.
Oh, okay.
So I can't tell you how many. I got one kid. Could be.
You can't wait to be a dad.
Oh no, that's
This is what
this
coaching is,
is
y'all.
my birth control.
Oh,
Let's just
I
say
believe
that.
it, man. I love kids and coaching, but it's real.
Yeah, I also love being able to say, "Here's your parents. Have a good rest of your day."
Love you, bye.
Exactly.
Mhm.
So this kid could be phenomenal,
Yeah.
but he is too scared to dodge hard because he's not a good, like just straight up dodger. He's got to be flashy. He's got to look good, like throw a big fake, get you to bite on that, because he doesn't have enough confidence in himself
Yeah.
to just make the dodge and run by you.
Oh.
So out here he does okay. He beats around kids, he gets around them. Then he goes to the East Coast and he gets his shit kicked
Yeah.
because every guy is it's a Long Island defender who is a meat stick that's going to beat the piss out of you. And he's
Yes,
not
I'm
going to
not.
feel bad at all.
Yeah.
And yes, she's laughing because she knows the stereotype.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
true.
Well, I got whooped on as soon as I went out east. But
Yeah.
what a phenomenal lesson he's getting now.
But he's
If
but
he makes it to
he's-
college.
The thing is though, he's not challenging himself because
Yeah.
of it. He's going, okay, and he comes back here and does the same thing.
Yeah.
And so a lot of it is if I can get these kids in middle school and get them kind of thinking differently before they get to high school. That was why I switched from coaching varsity lacrosse to going to coach 7th graders.
Yeah.
Because 7th graders still want to learn and they
Yeah.
don't have that, oh, who are you mentality.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many kids did that, went to college and then came back and went, I really wish I would have listened to you. My coach said exactly what you said when we got there.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean,
Drake Gillis, I'm talking to you at CC.
That's what's up.
Yeah.
Wait, I mean, so do you think these kiddos just wanted more like resume from you, or like some sort of like ethos to listen, or where?
I think
did
a
that
little
come from?
bit. So no, because when I coached with 2 guys that played at DU, and DU not the current, like back, but right when it turned to D1, but it still had that D1 label.
Yeah.
And actually, the kids pretty much treated me the same, if not better.
Okay.
And actually, there were some comments which they were making, which there was a couple kids that didn't like our head coach, but they were like very much so being like, Coach Dave needs to do more.
Oh, okay.
Like that type.
Yeah.
And so I don't think that, like, because I played D3 versus D1 matters.
Okay.
It's just a weird group of, like, kids don't know what it looks like to work hard.
Yeah.
They don't. They think showing up at practice, putting the uniform on, half-assing it through practice, that's it.
They're checking the box.
Yeah.
Getting it, moving on.
Especially at schools, and this is not a knock on well-to-do schools, because that's where I came from.
Yeah.
But in schools where parents do everything for their kids.
Yeah.
If you're packing your kid's bag up, if you're carrying your kid's bag, if you're wiping your kid's ass, it pretty much gets there.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, not that wiping ass, but they pick up their bags and everything else.
Yeah, no, the wiping the ass was definitely the exaggeration.
I was hoping. I mean, I didn't.
I don't know. I don't follow them in the bathroom, so I wouldn't know.
There's a whole other boundary there.
But let's put it this way: I actually had a coach tell me on the drive home that he watched a kid have his parents take his cleats off.
Okay.
And this was middle school or high school, one of the two.
Really?
Still either or too old to have your parents take your shoes off.
Wow. We I laugh a little bit, but when we would go ice skating, we actually would play like ice hockey at Evergreen, like really, basic hockey. But I would always have my dad tighten my skates, even when I was like 18.
But tightening skates
really
is
hard.
different though.
Yes.
It is hard to tighten skates.
Yeah, it is actually really hard. He was really good at it, and if they're not tight, then it's all just messed up. But anyways, I would hope that the kiddos have enough pride to be like, this is embarrassing.
They don't.
The other kids aren't like, oh, mommy or daddy's putting on your skates.
Remember, this is kind of the downside. Like, I love, like, this generation is going to be so accepting of so many different things.
I have full faith in our humans, yes.
I love that to death. I'm so proud of them for that, because I think, like, listening to my students talk, it's shit that was issues when we were kids are not there.
Yeah.
Or at least, like, the hang-ups,
it's a different generation. They're growing up with different stuff, internet, social media, like, parents, they've probably been through some shit, so they want to make it easier for their kids. Like, I kind of get it.
And I get it, too. It's just that sometimes it goes too far.
Yeah, completely agree.
And it's interesting to see the ones that do the most are usually the ones that have the highest opinion of their kids, even though their kids expect the most without doing it.
Yeah.
And it's just, so the idea was, how can I kind of approach the kids? And like one of the things, I can't wait till I get to teach my courses. Yeah. And tell these kids that think they're doing a lot. Because one of the straight things I'm going to tell them straight up is they're not working hard enough. Yeah. There's two high schools here that I can say for lacrosse are working hard enough for the most part. I can't say every kid. Yeah. Because I don't know every kid. But from what I've seen from them and the ethos they've created as a school, they are. Those two schools for sure. But besides that, like, I have one kid out of our 23 graduation class, so for current freshmen, a double A team, which is the, like top tier, and a single A team. Yeah. I have one kid on that team that's doing what he should without having to be told. Wow. And I coach a single A, I don't coach a double, but he's on the double, and he's at one of those two schools I mentioned, and he will be a varsity player and probably a college player if he stays with it. Okay. But this generation has this issue with like being a tryhard isn't cool. Yeah. Really? Oh yeah. They make fun of the tryhards. Oh, okay. At least that's what we've seen in lacrosse. So
then what's the end game? Like, if you don't, do they want to get to college, or they just want to get there and like do nothing, or like what?
I think if
what is cool? I guess is my question.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, I don't know. I'm the tryhard coach. I'm
the one who I think we're the tryhard kids, and I think that's probably where we've had success in our world, or I could deem success, like self-discovery and like entrepreneurial, opportunity and.
Or even just growth as humans.
Dude, you gotta try hard in so many things. Like, that kind of hurts my heart, but I get it.
And I think, though, you and I are different mindsets. Like, that's one of the things I learned when I joined Front Range, which, for those of you that don't know, is the gym that we both used to train at. Yes. I really learned what it looks like to train. Yeah. Not exercise, what it looks like to train. Yeah. And I don't think kids understand there's a difference. I think to them, like, practice is like what people think exercising is versus training.
So do you think that starts at home, or is that social media influence? Like, because some of these kids aren't around their parents that much.
I don't want to blame social media that much, because I don't know, maybe. But there's that whole push. Then we can go into like, that's a whole nother podcast, like male body issues, female body issues. Because I saw something the other day. Because I'm with the idea of launching a new company, I'm paying attention to social media a lot more. Which,
my dude, welcome to the jungle.
You on TikTok yet?
I'm not. You said you were. You went over there. Really?
It's entertaining. It's Vine.
Okay.
It is the Vine of this
See,
this
Vine
generation.
kind of skipped me. I usually just use Instagram because it's
That's how I've always been.
multifaceted.
Yeah, and I missed, to be
whatever.
honest, I missed Vine too. So like, it's new to me. It's fun to kind of watch.
Okay.
One, the fact that there's way too many young girls on there dancing and like creepy old men making comments bothers me.
Oh.
Like that's like apparently a normal thing.
Really?
So this is what I've learned in probably 4 hours, 5 hours total of watching content.
Okay.
Because I was told 6 hours watching content, then start building
Your
it.
brain starts to mush. Yeah.
You got to break those 6 hours up. But one thing I learned is there's way too many creepy old dudes on it.
Yes.
And there's a difference between being old and being on it and being old and creeping on it.
Yeah.
Like,
Acceptable.
The being old and creeping on it, like you're gonna go to hell.
Basically,
There's a
right.
special place for you people.
Yes.
But with the so there's that. Then there's the teenage kid trying to make a name for themselves, which that's whatever. Do your thing, but don't sexualize yourself. Don't over sexualize your body. Don't be searching for the guy that's clicking on the like.
Yeah.
Legitimately have
Know
better
your
value.
Yep.
Same thing.
I'm with you.
And then I saw one thing though, because for me, male body image is a huge passion, and that'll
And
be.
then
I know we're running
conversation?
out of time. What's that?
No, we're not on time. As long as you're good on time, I'm good on time. I never go on
nothing, so
I'm
I'm hanging out with Eric, so
my
sorry,
God.
I don't have anything. So if he listens to this, sorry, buddy.
You better listen.
Yeah.
Oh, one of my other faves. These are all my CrossFit brothers.
Absolutely, you're stuck with us.
Yeah, facts.
Exactly.
He's better here than I do, and I never say that.
Oh, I will let him know that one. But
I keep telling him he's got to come to Dry Bar with me.
oh my God.
He would do it too.
Yeah, he would, and it would be awesome.
I know.
Okay, but film me. I want to be there to film the doors opening.
We'll TikTok it.
Yes, the separate, both doors kick open. You two flaunting your
Oh my God,
your new blowouts.
Facts.
I'll
I
start.
gotta make sure he grows it out forever.
I'll start telling him now he can't get it cut.
I think I told him. Okay, tell him. But only his mom cuts his hair, so he lets it grow.
Really?
He goes, oh yeah.
I didn't know that.
This?
No, it's only my best friend didn't know that.
Ask him tonight. Confirm.
Okay.
He might have let someone else cut it. But I don't think so. I think literally he goes home to get it cut, and only his mom cuts his hair.
Yeah, but is that because he just doesn't want to pay anyone to do it?
Well, I don't know.
That's
Probably.
a fair
But yeah,
assessment.
it's fine.
Anyway.
Give mom kudos. But back to business.
No, so I grew up having body issues because at 4th grade, a kid who, to be honest, had a similar build, if not probably was a little bit chunkier than I was,
Yeah.
looked at me and called me bitch tits, right?
Oh.
And that, still to this
Are
day,
you a chunky kid?
I was average.
Okay.
I was mesomorph. I was the middle of the pack.
Okay.
I just grew up in a
Such an
hometown
evolved
where
human,
every
for sure.
kid was 6 foot skinny,
Yeah.
that lean build,
Yeah.
where I know I will never have skinny abs.
Myself either.
Yeah,
Yes.
and I'm good with it now, but as a kid, when you're like, why the fuck does everyone have abs except for me?
Yeah.
And of course that means that's
Well,
why I
there's
can't
zero.
get a girlfriend. It wasn't the fact that I had no game as a kid. It was the fact that I just didn't have abs, so that's why I didn't have a girlfriend.
This is 4th grade.
Well, that was growing up. Teenagers.
Okay. I was gonna say, this is pretty early.
I was a very evolved human in 4th grade.
You know.
I was like, what is my ego?
I think it's important for boys to talk about this.
No,
It's
it is,
really heavy
100%.
into the girl side of thing, which is obviously relevant combo. But
Yes,
now we're
totally.
getting back to the boy side of thing.
And I would argue, so the difference is though, while yes, both now are being told what to look like, what to do.
Yeah.
It was a male-dominated culture as far as
Sure.
telling people what to look like. And I think that even though it has switched a little, I never viewed it as that, as being a male-dominated, because for me growing up, everything I always did was for the woman.
Yeah.
It was, you have to look this way to get a girl to like you. You have to act this way to get a girl to like you. And I would argue women hear the same thing towards men.
Sure.
And unfortunately, I just don't think we realize that those same conversations are happening,
Yeah.
and we're just not piecing it together.
Yeah.
But that being said, there has been a male dominance that didn't need to be exposed and brought out, as far as Hollywood and,
Of course.
even the fact that women and men are not paid equally in the same positions.
Yeah.
Which is, it's odd. Education is one of the only ones. I actually have traditionally worked in female-dominated careers.
I actually completely believe that.
Yeah, I
But
really have. Yeah, you do.
So many angles there. But I think it's more socially acceptable for a male to be fat than for a woman to be fat,
I agree.
or to be or to get old,
It
or
is.
to be anything outside of what's stereotypical beauty female looks like.
And I would agree, it very much is more acceptable.
Yeah.
I just never been part of the community that felt comfortable with it being acceptable.
Right.
Like, for me as a kid, sorry, I'm out of nowhere.
A little more whiskey or water.
Yeah, we'll go water this round. But no, like, just for me, I always compared, like, I remember being a kid watching MTV Spring Break, comparing my body to every guy on the TV.
But see, I actually think that's the norm.
I do too.
Kids, older kids. I mean, even if it's more socially acceptable for a man to look a certain way versus a female, I still think our young men are just like women facing those body issues. Like,
well, and that leads back sorry, I won't scream away from the microphone.
Oh, you're fine.
That leads back in the TikTok comment.
Yeah.
I saw one of the the girls, I don't know, to be honest, not.
I wouldn't know.
Yeah, like something like some dancer, whatever.
Okay, so
but
the Madonna of TikTok.
The Logan whatever of Vine is this girl
I
for
wouldn't even
TikTok.
know that. Maybe I'm probably out of touch.
You might be silent.
Podcast. Okay.
But yeah.
We'll catch up.
So anyway, but she had like a video, and it was like a guy standing next to her, and she's like, no this, no, like, can't have this, can't have that, gotta have this. And like, literally it was like, no muscles, no that, which whatever, like, your preference is your preference. Like,
yeah,
you have the right to love whoever you love, and if that's what you're drawn to, cool.
Yeah.
But if you're the number one social media influencer in that lane, right? So the TikTok lane, every single boy that sees that is now going to think I'm not good enough, especially if they are like into her and they follow that, like,
they're influenced by her.
Yeah, if they're influenced by her. Thank you. That's a great way of saying it.
Yeah.
But if they are, they're going to think I'm not good enough, which then is going to encourage them. Like, literally, it was like, I want tall and skin, like skin and bones.
Is that what she wanted?
Apparently, I don't know.
Oh,
I didn't like message her. Is this really what you want?
I didn't know if you were influenced or not.
No, all that did to me was be like, yep, not gonna deal with this.
Yeah.
But it was just sad to me though, because that's all it takes is one kid to see that, and then for him to be like a sixth grader who has no luck because he's done like. I like to use my example, the scroll email when I asked a girl out in sixth grade.
The scroll email?
Yeah, I went W, and then you scrolled for a while. I went WI, and then you scrolled.
Oh my God.
This is like old email before, because there was nothing. Oh, yeah, it was like black background, different colors.
Yeah.
Super crazy.
Yeah.
For those of you that can't imagine it, you're welcome. You don't want to imagine it.
I think I still something like this even in college. Like our email in college was bad. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, it was probably about the same.
Yeah. 99, 2000.
Yeah, it didn't really change much. Well.
You're a little younger. I know.
I'm not gonna tell.
You could say
it was like 97, 98, so really not that far off.
Yeah.
It was 97 because I was in sixth grade then.
We're a little far off.
Just so you can remember that you are slightly more
18.
21 than I am.
Yeah, exactly.
But so yeah, like I had no clue. Now, if I was a kid now, and so just lack of game, because my dad was gone a lot and he never told me how to ask a girl out or how to talk to a girl. If I was a kid now that I saw like my build, which I'm very happy with where I'm at as an adult, but as a kid, like you look around, you're like, oh, I'm not that skinny kid. I'm not that. Oh, we were talking earlier before we started about teen suicide, stuff like that. Like, that's the shit that's gonna affect somebody. Yeah. Is if you see something that's gonna take away, and I don't want to take away from like saying like, sure, that's your type. Yeah. Don't broadcast it. Right, like. Well,
we talk about. That's why I poke the bear with the influencer T-shirts and all that, because I think there's such a heavy responsibility around being an influencer. And at the end of the day, influencer, the word in itself, Cleo speaks, is so tired. Like nobody wants to hear it anymore. And it's also really positive when people do understand their impact and take responsibility around it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because it is actually matter whether you've got 20 followers or 50 million. If two people listen to you out of either party, it's a big deal. Yeah, if one person does. So I mean, there's a big piece of responsibility there, and like being a teacher, you are more impactful, influential wise than most people on the internet. And yes, our young people are drinking in these messages, but their impact is coming from home. It's coming from parents or teachers or coaches or friends, or the people that are in their immediate reality. Yeah. Of course, the internet is a piece. And I really think our young people are privy to how much it's smoke and mirrors. Is that every kid? No. And is it happening a lot as negative? Absolutely. Yeah, and I agree with you on that, though. I do think that some of them realize that it is now business. I hope. Yeah. And when you see, I've done some management in the space. If you see, the other side of some of these voices.
Yeah.
It's not even that it's bad. It's like maybe they're there to have fun, or maybe they're there to be sexy, or like their mission isn't to coach the world to be a role model.
Yeah, right.
It's happening, and they're making. I mean, Eminem came on MTV Awards, God, 90, maybe 2000s when he was first coming out, said role model, but then he's like, I'm not a role model, and it was years later.
That even goes back to Charles Barkley.
Yeah.
In the early 90s with the I am not a role model speech, where he was like, I'm a basketball player. I'm not a role model.
Yeah.
Like, you should be your kid's role model, not me.
Yeah. But I mean, and there's truth in that, and you are though. Like, kids are following your saying, and then they're probably reverberating that message.
That's true.
So, I don't know.
It's a tough spot.
Yes.
It really is. Well, and that's one, like, the big thing with part of the, like, joy for me of launching this company is that by not being in the system, I can have those real life conversations outside, even outside of sports. So one of the big things I'm pushing is for kids to find purpose in sport. Yeah. And really what I mean in that is find purpose in what they're doing. Yeah. And do they love what they're doing? And if they do, great. But if you want to be that kid that your goal is to play high school lacrosse and go through college, let me save your parents some money and tell them not to pay for that select team. Yeah. Because the select team at that point is just you paying to hang out with your friends. Right. Like, if that's the case, and like, that's cool if that's all you want, but guess what? You're probably not going to make that select team.
Well, and you're not happy. Don't waste your own time.
Yeah.
Like money, obviously, I think conscious budget is always a piece of the puzzle.
Yeah, absolutely.
But also, like, go do something else. Maybe you're an artist, or maybe you like piano, or go home and write. I don't know. Do something you actually want to do.
Find your passion.
Yeah.
No, and that ties all back into the whole, though, like, could the education system be different? Sorry. I mumble, number one, and I know I do, and I just caught myself.
Oh, I for sure do. One of my friends is like, oh, you got that New York speak? I'm like, no, that's tequila.
Yeah, right?
Maybe a little New York in there, but yes.
Mine's just, I'm a fidgeter, so, like, I'm like, ooh.
You know, well, I tell everyone when we're on the mic, because I do the same thing, so that's why I'm, like, always up here and on it. But and I'm such a hand visual speaker that I'm in the other room by the time I'm at the end of the paragraph. Yep. But anyways, so the business, it's athlete mindset. Yeah. We're focusing on athletes. It's basically fostering life skills through sports.
Yes, exactly. And it's coaching, like, things like structure. How do you build a schedule? Yeah. And the difference of why are you doing this? So, like, because if I told a kid, hey, you need to wake up at 5 o'clock every day, do this, do that, which they don't need to wake up at 5 o'clock every day. Yeah. But if I gave them, like, my routine, here's why you need to do it. Mm-hmm. And they'd be like, no, why would I? But if I told them, hey, if you do every single thing like this for the next 6 weeks, and your goal is a 6 week goal, measure it beforehand, measure it after, and if they can see that progress, then they go, oh shit, yeah, that something did change. And you got to start small. Yeah. So that the idea is they'll leave with a goal, then I'll follow up call and kind of just check in, because I want to make sure they're achieving it. If you're gonna come, like, to be honest. One of my things is the kid that comes in and is completely, like, if he's sitting on his phone, not want to be there, he's going home, and I'll refund him his money. Yeah, what's a waste of your time? I mean, that's a waste of mine. It's a waste of his parents' money. Yeah. And so the idea is I want to see kids succeed in getting where they want to be, and I want to give them the tools to be there. And just like you said, it's shaping it through sport, life skills framed through sport. Yeah. Well, I think it's such a phenomenal lens, and I definitely see at some point it being like artists maybe coming in, or anyone that's focused on a goal. Exactly. It's such a practical life skill. Well, and that's it. Like, it's really nothing to do with being an athlete. Right. But for the market, for the start, it's the launching point, because realistically, this could be applied to any corporation, any person. School curriculum, anything. Well, and even, like, just the way that, like, you and I have approached our lives and growth and self-reflection and really investing in ourselves, and the fact of, like, I would say that I'm probably the best version of myself at 34 that I've ever been. Oh, 100. I mean, I would say that about me. Completely agree. And I would agree with you on that yes, you are. I've seen you for the last 10 years. I can say that with confidence. You are. Yeah. It's one of those that, like, and it's this whole process, and it's all the things that basically you and I have both been doing in our own lives. Yeah. And the people that have been in our circles as far as the fitness world, like, nothing I'm going to be teaching is mind-blowing. Like, they're going to be sitting there like, no shit. This is pretty standard. But if you can put all the stuff we've had to go out and see together, exactly, and earlier on, that is worth its weight in gold. Well, and that's it. If you got a high school kid that can go, oh my God, I can do this and train. Like, sometimes high schoolers need to be told, you can do more because you're just being soft. And not an aspect of, like, get up snowflake, like nothing like that.
Yeah.
Which I actually like the term snowflake, but in the aspect of kids don't know that their pain threshold or they're like tired, like when the mind kicks in, which you and I have both seen that in games and workouts where that like, I can't do it, I can't go any further. Like you can, and kids just need to learn where that is and learn that they can overcome their own limitations.
Well, and I think it's important, as you were saying earlier, to have that come from a third party, because whether the parents engage, because there are, I mean, so many parents, like when I was coaching, they cared and they were trying to do all the right things. Sometimes it was too much, sometimes it wasn't enough. It was all the things, but 99% of the time, they wanted the best. They wanted to do whatever they could. But our kiddos need, I think, the things that are outside of the home to like be a role model for things, and even, you know, post college when we're at Front Range and training, we were so blessed to have the varsity humans that we did, that were, you know, everybody had full-time jobs, nobody was getting paid to train. It was a bunch of people that were getting to the best level. I know we're all crazy.
When we look back and explain it, we sound like we're batshit crazy.
Because we are.
Yeah.
But I mean, these are doctors and lawyers and teachers and entrepreneurs, and I mean, it's everyone that's showing up to kick their own ass for a couple hours, sometimes 5 hours in a day, but for, let's say, a couple hours, just to be better. I mean, I know it's insane.
That was only some people.
Only some of us. I take complete responsibility there. We'll monetize that someday.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
I think we're past those days.
Yeah, we are a little bit. We have Reebok in the mix, and you know, slowly but surely. But I'm just saying, like, it was such a phenomenal filter for people that wanted to work hard. And that in itself was the blessing in the process.
Yeah, absolutely.
I had to show up every day to compete.
Oh, yeah.
There was no gray area.
No, you had no choice. Because that's if you were going to be at the base level, that's who you're surrounded with. Yeah.
So, I mean, again, that's why I think this is so phenomenal. I think it's long overdue / right on time because of your eclectic experience, your upbringing, I mean, all the things, and your personal, even around like the body issues, and like that's so awesome that you have that. I mean, I've never wished ill will on any human or want someone to go through something hard.
It's so awesome that you have those body issues. Thanks, hon.
No, but I mean, you can see Dave now. He's like a looking dude that's tatted. He's in shape. Like, ladies, come at him. But it's. I mean, the fact you can have empathy in that space for our young humans. Not a lot of guys would even say that. And that in itself, I think, is the best non-marketing strategy. Like authenticity, putting your voice out there, and kiddos will find you. Well, the parents don't.
One of the things really within the last, I mean, I've always kind of, like I told my students, my staff that I work with, I'll never lie to my students. Yeah. Like, kid asks me a question, I'm answering it honestly. Yeah. And one thing I've really learned to focus on, and I'm actually like kind of craving it now, is people that are vulnerable. Yeah. Like if you can get to that raw space and be vulnerable and talk about it, one, that allows other people to, because you're creating that for them. And two, it's just, you get to know people so much better.
It's process.
Oh, and it gets through the bullshit of like, oh my God, how are you today? Yeah. Like, oh, you feel like shit? That's sorry. Okay, see ya. Bye. Like,
I know. But that vulnerability side, that's something certainly I've worked on. Particularly being an athlete, like you can only be so vulnerable. You're like, I'm tired and we gotta have a boundary here. Yeah. But that vulnerability space is like, even that's new. Like that's not in our culture really. That's not really like what it is. But if kiddos can understand that earlier, understand themselves earlier, and be happier earlier, that's where I think we actually have like world change.
Well, and I think that's where we're going. I think so too. I think the next 20 years you're going to see a drastic shift in accessibility to people, as far as like, I think anybody that's got shadows as far as stuff they're hiding, that shit's going to come out. Well said. I think, and not in a bad way, just meaning like if there's anything you're not comfortable with, you need to deal with it because it will come out at some point. Yeah. I think 5G is going to change the game as far as like.
Would you say 5G?
5G.
What's 5G?
Internet. It's the next transition and where they're going. We're in 4G right now. 5G though will be interconnected to the point where legitimately you could be like, hey, Siri, I need Dave Loudenslager, and it would call it like for industry. Like it's brand interconnectivity. Sorry, that wasn't a great example. Okay.
I can do that now.
I know. I realized as I was saying that. Yes, you do. I don't use my Siri. So
I actually don't either. There's enough data out there on me. So
yeah, right.
Go to my Instagram.
Exactly. We've all seen it.
You're welcome.
But no, everything's gonna be connected. Meaning like, and the thing is, whoever owns that service is gonna have all the connectivity. So everything you put out there is going to be it, but it's going to be smartphones, smart computers. Like it will be that true, like, well, what they're tagging it as. Not, I don't know. I'm not I'm literally just regurgitating what I've read because I'm not that invested in it. But they said that this is going to be like one of those things that you could call at 3 a.m. a surgeon in Brazil. She could wake up and do virtual surgery on someone in New York City, because that's how how advanced technology is going to start changing.
I mean, that side of it's amazing. If it's an emergency and what have you, I'm here for it.
But just the idea, though, that everything is going to be, anything that is connected to it, all your stuff is on it.
Could you imagine the drug dials if that's real?
Oh, I'm so glad.
I'm going to take it to a way
I'm
basic
so glad
level.
I'm past those days. Like, there might be, let me say, there might be 1 or 2 people out there that have gotten a drunk you up text in the last like two years, or a random DM. You know who you are.
It was Eric.
No,
he's a dry bar with KO. No, it's
the funny part is you know the person, but anyway, we'll just keep moving.
Let it fly.
Yeah.
I think
it's not any of your normal guesses.
I'm letting it go. I think that I think the technology, there's 2 sides, just like the social media, it's crazy.
Oh, yeah.
Just like kiddos now can find you again and assimilate and then, hire you for a service, question a better way earlier, like what we did, 25 plus. It's amazing, but I also think, and I've said this a few times, I think the whole putting it all out there, Instagram, all of it's going to become taboo. Yeah. And I don't know if that's.
Oh, you think it's going to do the opposite?
I really do. I think it's going to be too much. It may be 20 years from now. I don't know.
I think it's going to get burnt out. Yeah. I think people are going to get sick of the fake, and that's why the vulnerable side, like I'm not talking like, oh my God, the life post of this is so horrible.
That's also a lot.
And watch me FaceTiming my
cry.
I'm making sure the angle's just perfect as I cry. No, not that shit. Like, I'm talking like
tear in the lens.
Yeah, and you can't see it, but I'm doing the tear down the side of the face. I forgot where. Yeah, but
it's all gonna become taboo down the line.
Yeah,
like.
I think it's going to be like they want the real shit. They don't want the people that only post the 3 things to get them likes. Yeah. And I think that's where, I think we're craving it, an authenticity.
I think we're there. I really do.
I do. I think we're at the start of it for sure.
Yeah. So we'll see if more is more or less is less or less is more. I don't know, somewhere in there.
We'll see.
As long as I got tequila, I think I'm going to be all right at this podcast.
Yeah, right?
We're good humans.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we didn't get into just really quickly, I want you to talk a little bit about the spirituality side, if you don't mind. About what? Like, just which portion of it? Because you come from a religious side, I always think all things are awesome intel, and I love my religious humans, I love my spiritual humans, and I think energy's in there. I think all of it is phenomenal intel, and you can kind of pick what you want. Yeah, absolutely. But talk a little bit about spiritual journey. You don't have to go deep into it, but maybe how some of that's been applicable to your training and the athlete mindset that's coming out. Okay, well, so the biggest thing that goes into my training, if it's going into the company and that type of stuff, has been meditation practice. Okay. If we're looking specifically just towards that, just give a background of what my religious background. Yeah. Grew up non-denominational Christian in a very conservative Christian home in Hudson, Ohio, small town. It was a great place to grow up. Phenomenal churches, actually. I'm very grateful for the teachers I had at those churches. As I got older, though, and just kind of grew away from kind of the man aspect of religion, I still struggle with it. The fact to say that anyone, because even if it is God inspired, quote unquote, it's still a person that wrote it. Sure. And just like we said earlier, the telephone game. Yeah. As a history teacher, I see all these different iterations of things. I'm teaching world religions. I see tons of similarities between all the different faiths. Yeah. Just the fact that the 3 Judaism, Christianity, and Islam all came from the same lineage. Yeah. Even though different times, it's like that's to me just saying, okay, so what made those changes? How did they branch so drastically different? Mm-hmm. And so I've just kind of really come into my own of kind of finding my own faith, and it does stray away from traditional faith. I still I try to live a life as close to that of what Jesus would live as far as servitude. I do think my purpose is to serve, and I'm very adamant about that. And so, but for me, a lot of it has become that kind of self-exploration though, and of finding what God is to me. Mm-hmm. And to be honest, even to talk and try to describe what God is to me is already starting to dilute it. Yeah. I believe God's so complex that we can't label what. And I don't think it is a he or she. I think God is God. Yeah. You don't think we can put a label on that. But as it led to the new business, it's more mindfulness. Mindfulness has been a huge thing for me the last 5 years, and it came through spirituality first, as far as that lens of
You know, which ironically I didn't realize that even like visualization in sport is meditation.
Oh yeah.
But I also was never taught visualization. I learned that, I had to teach myself that through weightlifting.
Okay.
But it's just huge. I actually changed my morning routine to wake up a half hour earlier, which if you know me at all, I hate mornings, so that's a big deal. I get up at 5:30 every morning.
Oh,
yeah, I know.
Good for you. Okay.
I am by 6:15. I've already fed the dogs, done all my food, eaten, and I sit down for 20 minutes of meditation.
Oh wow.
And then
game. Okay.
it's been like, don't get me wrong, I'm not sitting there the whole time like in a Zen state by any means.
Okay.
And anybody that meditates, you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And it takes me, sometimes I can drop into kind of that deep like focus state. Other times it takes the whole time, and then I get a minute of like, okay, that was clear.
Yeah.
But for me, a lot of it, I found the big thing is when I sit in there and I'm finally able to kind of still my mind, stuff about my company comes up. Like the stuff about the business.
Yeah, alignment. Okay.
Well, and like what do I want to teach? Like what curriculum?
Yeah.
And I get to the point at times where I want to stop and I want to get out of it and be like, okay, I need to write this down.
Yeah.
But then I remind myself that whatever's supposed to be in it, it's gonna stick. So
Yeah.
like when I come out of it, whatever sticks with me is what I kind of go. So like you were saying, take what you need and leave what you don't.
Yeah.
It's kind of a similar philosophy where like I'm like, okay, so this is something that needs to be added into it. It's either going to come up again, and if I forget to write it down, it'll come up another time, or it will come up. And it's been really fun. Like meditation for me has kind of taught me more to be present.
Yeah.
And I've been listening, reading, doing kind of a bunch of different stuff. And if you're looking at more podcasts about like meditation, spirituality, and kind of the getting away from traditional, I guess you would say, and looking more even towards like plant-based, which that's another podcast we can go into at some point. But that type of stuff, like podcasts like Aubrey Marcus is really great. Paul Chek. Actually, I was just on the way over here listening to Kyle Kingsbury, and he was talking. He was talking about his own experiences using plant-based medicine, and just listening to all these different people of different belief systems. Jay Shetty's awesome. He was a monk for 3 years.
I've read all these. I don't know any of these guys. Okay.
Really? Oh, okay.
I don't think so.
Well, you know Aubrey Marcus. He's the founder of On It.
I've actually met him.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, interesting. Yeah, I don't.
I thought it was him because I don't know too many dudes named Aubrey. Which is all good, but I was like, that's gotta be him.
Yeah, we'll talk about that one later.
Yeah.
Seems like a good. Like I see a lot of similarities in our stories.
Sure.
And I relate a lot to
Well,
it.
you don't always. It's kind of like I argue this in music, like R. Kelly or Michael Jackson. You can always appreciate the art and not necessarily the artist, which. We got many podcasts that are happening, but I'm just saying, intel is intel. Like everything that's out there, regardless of where it's coming from, it's nice when both things align.
Yeah, and it helps you with what you need, and you pull what you need out of it. Jay Shetty's awesome though. So he talks mindfulness, a lot of just of his experiences as a monk and bringing that into like modern day living. He's like 28.
Okay.
He did 3 years from 21 to 24.
Dang.
Yeah, like cool, great dude.
But making moves. Okay.
Yeah, I like to listen to things because I drive for my work right now. I have about 2 hours driving.
Okay.
So I try to find different podcasts that'll challenge me in the way I think, the way I believe.
Yeah.
And there's been some there's some that I love, and there's others that I'm just like, nah, I'm good.
Yeah.
But I'm reading 4 or 5 different books right now. It's
I
all
can only
over
do
the place.
I have a couple that I need to finish, but I can't do multiple at one. I gotta finish one and get to the next.
I do a couple chapters. I'll be really into this book, then I'll bounce to another, and I keep. And if I don't ever get back to it, then I know I got what I needed.
It didn't stay. Yeah.
It was just what either I got what I needed or wasn't supposed to be.
Okay.
But I'm reading Originals, which is really good.
Okay.
It's talking about creators in their realms. So it talks about Steve Jobs and his experience with the Segway. That's a really fun one.
Okay.
And like how Seinfeld almost never was a show.
Okay, I did hear about that.
Because it flopped horribly when it was during its the trials. But I'm reading that. I'm reading Frequency. I don't know the author, but that's talking about energy and vibration.
Okay.
That was recommended by Ashley and Ashley's friend.
O'Connell?
Yeah.
But I've heard her too. Okay.
I'm trying to think who else or what else I'm reading.
I've heard Frequency. But...
Yeah, it's interesting when you're reading it. But just literally challenging myself to read as much.
Yeah.
And just my rule of thumb is if someone mentions a book multiple people do, then I buy it.
Yeah.
So if I have 2 to 3 people mention it, then I'm gonna buy it.
Yeah.
And so just doing that, and really between reading and meditating and been really lucky to have people put in my life at different times. Like Ashley, like we mentioned, O'Connell. I mean, I haven't seen her in years, and she still was a huge impact on me for the times that we were, you know, like actually being able to see each other regularly. Yeah. Like so helpful, and really started me on kind of this journey too of like realizing there was more. So Ashley's a Reiki, and to actually tell you the story, it's kind of thing I ever have. She worked on me when I was 29, just about to turn 30. Okay. And you're also at Front Range? Yeah, still at Front Range. This is right after the whole like kind of bad breakup I had at the gym.
Oh, I do kind of. I mean, I don't remember the specifics, but I remember.
Yeah, but not to throw shade, because you know I learned a lot from those lessons, and I love them to death, and I hope they're doing well, because that's life, and I really do like. It's funny when you look back and you're like, I failed my shit. I really hope you're doing well. Like, love you guys. Thank you for the lesson. And so she was working on me, and she just mentioned a couple things like, and my birthday for a long time was a bad spot for me. I really, my 30th was the first time it wasn't. And she was kind of working through stuff, and just to not go too crazy in depth, she called out my ex without even ever meeting her or knowing who she was. Wow. Because she was doing work on her. She said she stepped on her and saw an energetic snake go straight to me and bite me. Oh. And she told me to stay away from her, which in the long run was good, because a year later she totally showed that kind of snaky side. Oh. But we're human. We all have a little, you know, no judgment on that, and not trying to like throw shit.
And we're evolving.
Exactly. Yeah. And we're still children at that point. Like, let's be honest.
Also true.
But she did that, and then she helped me kind of work through some stuff with my parents, as far as I gave too much power and control to my parents. I love them to death, but I definitely.
I think most kids do.
Yeah, and especially.
Or a lot of kids, I should say.
I think a lot do, and. It just was tough in that aspect. So she helped me with that, but opened my eyes to kind of like that idea that there is more than just like what we have always been taught.
Questioning a better way.
Exactly. Yeah. And I mean, that kind of started opening doors. It's amazing. It's what's the phrase? When the student is ready, the teacher will appear. Yes. And it's amazing how that's happened from that point. Even, I mean, younger, like looking back in my life, every stage of my life, you can look at it. But it's crazy to see how that came about.
Well, I think you are like of pure heart, and being even like somewhere like now consciously like you're here to serve, but that was always kind of like in your authentic soul. Yeah. So I do think even that little shift of, is there more? Could I be doing this different? And I really think that's when stuff starts to like unfold and come in. And
absolutely.
And that's kind of like even where our whole conversation comes full circle. It's like you're right on path to where you need to be, and that's why this business, this venture, this heart piece is so important. Yep. And you have all the ethos and all the credibility you could possibly have to cover all the angles, like personally, professionally, education wise, to like position you to be like this great leader. And it's a phenomenal business idea monetarily to monetize and be profitable, and to serve, like to help our young humans find their way and streamline all the path and all the shit we've done, like, from meditations and coaches and I mean all the things.
If I can save you 15 years of headaches and pain,
seriously,
and like
you can't streamline all of it, but
you need to have the shitty relationships. That's a big one. Like realistically, it is like you need to get through the crap. Yeah, because you're gonna, if you look at every one of those as a growing point. Yeah. I can guarantee you both you and I have gotten better off of
I hope so. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I don't know, maybe like a kind of a step up. Like, but realistically, like we have. I mean, if you looked at us 12 years ago to now.
Dude, even 5 years ago, I mean, I think between like your 20s and like your 40s, those are such huge years. One of my good friends that I did another cast with, she's like, you know, the first like 40 years, like you're, maybe you said 30, you're just figuring it out. Yeah. And then like the next ones, you're like, you probably care a little bit less, but care more about the right things. You're more secure, what have you. So we're on the back nine, but for all the right reasons. Yeah,
back nine. Hold on. I like that you just like cut off. You're like first 30, second 30. You realize there's more than 60 years, right?
I hope so, man. My body's sore.
That is the old
Where's Ashley? I know. 85 surgeries later.
That's awesome.
All right, well, so I'm pumped to see. We'll do let's do like a 6-month check-in just to see where it's at.
I'll be able to tell you where more to find out about my stuff that I'm doing, because right now the presence is just being built. So
what did you want to say, like website, Instagram?
Website will be athletemindset.net. Right now it doesn't even have a placeholder because I'm a little bit behind on that.
It's all good.
But Instagram will be I think it's athlete_mindset 303.
Okay.
Because of course
to be fair, I mean, this is literally all launching. I told Dave, just come on the podcast. We're going to talk about it raw and just everyone's going to go through it.
It was one of those, as you were telling me, I was like, okay, so I got nowhere. Okay, no underscore. Athlete Mindset 303 is the Twitter and Instagram.
Oh, nice.
I think. Instagram for sure.
Okay.
I don't know. I'll get all that stuff figured out.
I never did Twitter.
I'm going to just because.
I think you should.
Unfortunately, I need to push all those markets, and even though, I hate social media. So,
everyone says that though.
I need to learn to get over it.
I like it.
I've known that for a while.
Well, no, I like some of it, and I also. I think it's because of my job. I don't actually, if you see my stuff, I don't take it that seriously.
No.
I'll sometimes make messages, but I think it should be a fun thing.
I agree.
And complement it with the heavy
absolutely
situation.
And that's kind of the focus. Like for me, my personal account will be more of my dumb stuff that I do, like just the stupid shit, my hiking, my dogs, But the company one will
People love that though.
Yeah, and I can always link it. The stuff for me though with it will be more of my teams I coach.
Yeah. Stuff
about them, but as well as just doing videos of trying to talk to people and help kids and post anything that can help them too.
I think it's huge.
Yeah, I'm excited for it.
The fact alone that the name was available, it's
a pretty basic athlete mindset is not
it's perfect.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
But it's 2 words that are very common that should not have been available.
Seriously.
So
CrossFit.
Yeah.
We'll dodge that. Anyways,
I'm just gonna slowly last minute. I'm not involved in
this.
You have
great lawyers.
Yeah, love your company.
We bleed the CrossFit.
I'm still a CFL1.
I think mine's long expired.
Anyway.
But check out Dave. I can't wait. Like I said, we'll check back in. I know it's super new, but I'm pumped. I love that we have someone focused on, again, at the front lines, our youth, which is our next generation coming out.
Those are the ones that are going to take care of us when we're older.
Exactly. Or just go out to passion. I
think that's what's going to happen.
But
thank you for having me, though. I'm glad we got to. This has been a lot of fun.
Dude, I appreciate you.
And we definitely need a longer one because we just knocked out an hour and a half like that. So.
But this always happens with all my peeps. And we could have gone into nutrition, spirituality.
We haven't talked any the spirituality stuff. We can definitely get into more depth next time, and all that. Just give me a little bit more framework of what you're looking for on that.
And a little more whiskey.
Yeah.
Channel some things.
If we're gonna channel some anyway.
For the meantime,
yes.
For the kiddos, for the company, I appreciate you.
I appreciate you as well. Thank you. As always.
Cheers to being a little bit.
Absolutely.
Thank you for joining Turmeric and Tequila with your host, Kristen Olson. Tune in next time, and don't forget to subscribe on Apple, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen.